Hi, it's day 30 of Inktober Tangles Challenge 2024. And today we have an elaborate tangle called Narfello Hearts. I love it actually because it combines muka and Narfello and hearts, and I love all of those shapes. It's by Lynn Mead. And I will try and hopefully succeed to squeeze it in here somehow. So let's see how that will go. So I will first start with an Narfello string, and Narfello string calls for some more waves. We had some waves already. And then it requires an aura line, so I'm just going to add an aura line. I will start with one because it will also grow outside of this. And you can see me kind of weaving these lines and trying to make the best of the space that I have here, which is very limited. And now for Narfello, typically you would break down this wavy part by adding some more curvy lines until you have these pockets that are almost like pockets of Ogi grid, and I hope I pronounced it well. So you are connecting these tops of waves or valleys with valleys on the other side to get these pockets, which can be more or less regularly shaped or have more or less regular shapes. And then once you are done with that, you will start adding flowers, and you will nest flowers, not flowers, but hearts. And you will nest these hearts. They will all grow in the same way. So you can start with, let's say here in my case, the shapes on the right side, and you have already the bottom of the flower shape, of the heart shape. I don't know what's with me and the flowers. So you just need to add these hearts, the top part of the hearts. And that's it. We already have quite a lot of these of this tangle filled in, but now here come the mukas. After you are done with the heart shapes, and please pause the recording if you need more time, you start the mukas kind of like an extension of these hills. So I'm referring to this as hills and valleys, and of course your muka will look different than mine does. That's fine. So you start from a hill and then just extend it and curve it into the nook, into the valley. And same on the opposite side. You start, it's like takeoff and landing. You take off from the top of the hill and then land in the valley with your curvy line and draw a muka pod nested in the valley. Let's see where else I would place a partial muka, just to think about where my mukas would be nested. But this is more or less it. And then the last thing is another heart, because we have these narrow nooks where our mukas end, and then you will nest a heart in each of them. I'm thinking about if I, whether I will like make sure that I have these shapes everywhere, but it doesn't really matter. I think because this tangle is hidden in a way, like I should maybe think about where a heart or a muka would be placed here in this nook of my number 2, but it doesn't really matter. I will actually ink this space in to create a little bit more contrast in the busyness of these tangles and numbers. And the thing that I always like to add, that you might consider adding, are these roundings. So I will add the roundings, and you can do so if you like, but if you don't prefer it, then just don't. And I will also maybe ink in some spaces between the shapes and tangles if I see that fit. So I'm not rounding too much, I'm not giving it a huge amount of ink, just a little bit to kind of make those lines seem a little bit smoother. Okay, I think, you know, I squeezed it in the shape that I had. It is what it is. I don't have a lot of free space to even consider adding the new tangles in. And now for the shading, what I would like to do, because it is busy, I would like to be able to see the fragments of the tangle clearer. And another thing, if you have more space, if you are not working in the same setup that I'm working, if you have like a tile, a paper tile, oops, then you can consider adding an aura around the whole thing, which is actually according to the original deconstruction. I need to sharpen my pencil. My pencil is getting almost too small to sharpen, but it's sharp now, and I want to shade these spaces between my mukas and the Narfello string that I started with. I want to add shade around the numbers, and this is what I was consistent with throughout this project. So it's basically hollowbow shading, where I shade around those shapes that are like a focal part, and I consider this whole Inktober 2024 text a focal part that will be the thing that you notice first when you start observing this Opus style. So you will first see the Inktober 2024, and then your eyes will wander around and look at all the details and all the tangles. So this is something when it comes to composition, and we don't worry about the composition in Zentangle, typically we don't. But when it comes to composition, you want to have something that will catch the attention of whoever is looking at a drawing or a piece like this. You don't want everything just to melt into a busy design of tangles right next to each other. So I think that having something like this that will just jump out of the whole thing and grab your attention when you look at it, it's helpful. It's even needed when you have something as busy as this, like 31 tangles in such a small space. It's just the way that I think about it. It's not like I really studied composition or art in general. I don't know, probably most of you know that I don't have any background in art or design. I was in finance for 20 plus years before I started drawing, and then finally decided to leave my career, corporate career. So what I do is, from my experience, mostly self-taught, but of course as you learn more, you also pick up some information from different courses you take or just books you read and so on. I should educate myself more, but I'm used to doing things just by hunch, and I think it served me well. A little bit of shading, like the regular usual shading of muka pods, where you add a little smiley shape to the bottom part of it and just some volume to those hearts, at least those that you can really see, that are not hidden or partially hidden behind something else. Everything is so tiny that, yeah, you can't add too much. And then for the highlights, maybe just some of it into the hearts and muka pods, but of course I will use the white jelly roll to do the highlighting that will like stand out the most. So with my jelly roll, I will add bright whites to the top of my mukas, to some stems of mukas, to the top of the heart shapes. Again, very limited capacity for drawing or adding shades and highlights because of the way that I squeeze this tangle into the whole drawing. It seems that these mukas that I nested in the latest need a little bit more shading on the bottom because they are really squeezed in. So this bottom part would probably be hidden in the shade. Well, it's in here. So you know, when you start working on something like this day to day, you can't be sure how it will evolve and if it would really even fit 31 tangles, and how can you make it fit? What do you do? I started maybe a little bit bigger on this left side, and then as the project progressed, I needed to find space for some tangles, and this is what I was doing basically for the last week or even more, trying to kind of make sure that I will be able to fit the tangles as they come. And we only have one more, and we will find space for it tomorrow. Thank you again for tangling with me, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.